Hello, everyone. This is Catherine here from the AHA product marketing team. We welcome to today's live event on AHA Discovery, which is our newest offering for product discovery work that is done through customer interviews. We are thrilled to have you here, and hopefully you've noticed we have a poll open now. We would love to get your input on whether your team has a goal for customer meetings. So now our presenters today need no introduction, but nevertheless, we have Brian de Haaff, who is the co-founder and CEO of AHA. He started his career as a product manager and spends as much time as possible with our team on new offerings. So Brian will be kicking things off with why product discovery and customer interviews are really more critical than ever. And then we also have James Harris, the AHA Discovery product lead, and he will be walking us through the first public demo of the product. So we are so happy to have you here. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. And with that, we can get started. Over to you, Brian.
Awesome. 60-40. So 40% of you have goals for talking with customers, 60 do not. Pretty consistent with what James and I have found chatting with folks. Let me start with three bits of news. First, always embarrassing to get introduced as the CEO and co-founder. Still think of myself as a product manager, and that's my passion. Work really closely with the team on new products that we bring to market, and could not be happier. Three parts of news, or three pieces of news. One is kudos to our team. We just celebrated our 12-year anniversary this week. Not bad for a company that was completely bootstrapped, profitable early on, was distributed completely remote before that was a thing. And in addition, never had any salespeople. We always just hired product people to work with product people. If you're interested in connecting with me on any of that, you can always invite me on LinkedIn through LinkedIn at brian@aha.io. It's a great way to connect with me and share any thoughts that you might have. Let me talk a little bit about product management and where we are as product managers. If you're worried at all about the upcoming AI revolution and or evolution, depending on your perspective and what it means for you, I'd say don't worry. Product managers are entering in an era, a golden era. And I am confident in that because more than ever, it is a must to know what to build. And so we're going to get back to that and why I believe that in a minute. But let me tell you a little bit about our experience with AHA Discovery and why we brought the product to market. I told you that we're 12 years in to the company's history. About 2 years ago, as our portfolio expanded to try to provide more value across the product development value chain, or the manufacturing of software, another way to think about it. And we went from 1 product to 5 products, ultimately to 6, and then to 7. It became pretty clear that we were still, as a relatively small company, we were performing exceptionally well in terms of what we could deliver and the pace that we could deliver new functionality. The one thing that started to, I think, become clear to a number of us is we weren't always building exactly what people wanted. And that's scary. I'm sure if I could see you, you'd probably be nodding along. You've probably had that experience yourself. And so, as any good leader does, I made a real rash decision to try to solve the problem. Mandated to the organizations, like, you shall, if you work in product or UX, you shall speak with at least 2 customers a month. And I was like, oh, problem solved. That'll be it. Things will be terrific. Every single thing that we build will be loved by everyone. And I turned my back and went to focus on something else. And the reality was that the mandate was simple-minded and easy, but putting that into practice was exceptionally difficult. And so Why is that product discovery work so hard? Well, for a number of reasons. The first is in product, we don't always know who to reach out to, right? We don't have our own research repository or database of prospective participants that we would like to speak with. So we go to our friends in customer facing organizations and we say, hey, look, I'm working on this, or I've got to try to validate this initiative. Who should I speak with? And they give us a few folks and we reach out to them. And then, by the way, we realize, oh, those are the same folks that I talked to maybe 6 months ago or 9 months ago. And so I'm fatiguing people because I'm reaching out to the same people, and I'm getting fatigued insights because I'm often hearing the same thing. So we have this challenge with who do we speak with? And then we have this second challenge, which is, oh my gosh, how do I actually get these meetings set? And so then we do the email back and forth dance to try to find a time. It gets rescheduled. And then once we speak with somebody, we have different skills when it comes to interviewing. Those of us who are more introverted, maybe we don't like to ask probing questions because we don't want to get into people's stuff. It feels personal. We don't want to push very far, but you have to do that to get to real customer insight. We get to customer insight, then we have the challenge of how do we document this? Where does that go? How do we share it? And then the problem gets compounded, especially for our friends in UX and in research. How do I make what I've learned actionable on the roadmap? Because the roadmap is always overloaded with good ideas that are already sitting there waiting to get built. So how do I take my insights? How do I get them onto a roadmap? How do I make them actionable? So we bumped into all of these challenges ourselves, and we looked at it and we thought, this is something we should be really good at, and we're struggling. And so if we're not really good at it, that means it's probably a challenge that other people have. And we did well. We did the right thing. We kind of mocked up what we thought the solution should be for ourselves, and we went out and we road tested it. So we did product discovery for product discovery, which is a bit meta, but felt right and was right. And the resounding answer that came back after doing 20 plus conversations was like, yeah, this is a story that we understand, and this is a challenge for us too. And so it's interesting in the last poll here, the mandate that we gave for you must speak with two customers. It's kind of our most, well, a meaningful percentage of you are. Seems like you are busy speaking to between one and five customers a month, which is terrific. And then some of you are shaming the rest of us with your 10 plus conversations a month. Getting back to where I started, why do I believe that this is the golden era for product and for all of you who are on this session? Well, the simple answer is because we must know what to build. Now, you might be thinking that was always true. But it's more true now. And it's more true now, and it's going to become even more true in the near future because the code is now writing the code. The code is writing the code. So AI will be used by us, definitely in product discovery, but it will ultimately be used even more so by our technical teams to generate our experiences that we're delivering to customers. And so in our organization, if we look at the percent of code being written by AI, it's fairly low today. But if you ask the team why, they would tell you it's because our habits haven't changed yet or fast enough. We estimate we're writing 3% of our code today with AI, with an exceptionally experienced engineering team. We project next year that's going to be 15%, and it will continue to grow 5x. Your exact experience with your team will differ, but we believe the trend is pretty clear. And so what we project is percentage-wise, 5 times year over year, code will be written by AI. If you play this out, it means by 2030, more code will be written by AI than will be by humans. If you play that out into the market dynamics, what does that mean? That means there's going to be a lot more software. What does that mean for getting to market? If you think your customers are going to a small corner grocery now to choose software, before you know it, they're going to the chip aisle in the largest supermarket you can imagine to compare you to all the other alternatives that exist. And so the proliferation of code that is coming is going to sweep over us and our buyers, probably more importantly, the users of our software. And so that's why my strong belief is it's going to be a golden era for those of us who know what to build. And the good news is we are the people who are tasked with that. The bad news is we are the people tasked with that and now have this responsibility to really know, because what took a year to write for an engineer in terms of software, that's going to be able to be written in a few days. What a senior engineer could do in terms of helping to refine what you asked for and saying, no, no, it would be better if we did this and I could do it a lot faster, that's going to disappear for a period of time. And what we're going to get is exactly what we ask for. What we get is going to be exactly what we ask for, just in a fraction of the time. We better be clear with what we're asking for. And so to be clear, it means our consideration for learning, for collection of feedback, for analysis needs to expand. We need to grow our skills. Tools need to get a lot better. And so for us, we have meaningful offering in what I would call kind of passive collection of feedback through AHA ideas and idea management. AHA Discovery now gives you a tool to allow you to do active collective collection of information, a collection of information where you're the one reaching out, you're the one asking the questions, you're the one doing the analysis. And if we can do these things, we then can ask the skeptic amongst all of us who always pipes up in a meeting and is like, tell me again, why should we build that? Or worse, the executives are like, tell me why we should invest in that new initiative. Well, the right answer to that question is almost always, let me tell you about what the customer said. Let me share what the customer said. There is no greater validation than meaningful insight that is the result of human interaction and human conversation. All right, I am going to transition it over to James now. So James has boldly volunteered to show you what the new product can do. And if it looks interesting, please, please, please reach out to us. Love to have a conversation with you and show you in more detail, answer any questions that you might have. You can also ask questions through the webinar as well, and we'll try to pick up some of those as we have time at the end of the session. All right, thank you, James. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Yeah.
And thank you again for that mandate you rolled out 18 months ago. 2 customers per month sounds simple. It was anything but hopefully now, having launched our newest offering, AHA Discovery, it will get a little bit easier. And really, really excited to walk you through the new product today. For those of you that use our tools, some of the elements of the user interface might look familiar, starting with our workspace drop-down menu here. For those that don't use our software, welcome to the workspace drop down here. This is a neat way, great way for companies, business units, individual product or project teams to stay organized together around the work that they're doing. The fictitious company that I'm going to use today to drive the demonstration is Fredwin Software. They bring to market a number of fitness tracking products to both consumers and the enterprise, and we're going to hone in on Fredwin Cycling. Very simply, you can think of this as a fitness tracking mobile application for cycling enthusiasts at the consumer level. And I'm going to talk through information and walk through screens at really two levels today. First is at the product or workspace level, so Fredwin Cycling. And then I'm going to dive into an individual research study and open an individual interview to really shine a light on, I think, the power and the breadth of capabilities of AHA Discovery when it comes to capturing insights and analysis. So starting at the study screen, you can see there are two core data records within AHA Discovery. The first of which you can see each of these thumbnails is a research study. You can think of a research study as a container of interviews, a collaborative effort between product managers that are going out into market to try and prove or disprove a set of hypotheses they may have. You can think something as broadly as, should we launch this new product into market, yes or no? Or I've got 3 releases on the product roadmap. Each contains over 20 features. How on earth do I prioritize said features? So that's studies, and then I'm going to quickly show interviews as well. Not every customer conversation needs to tie to, a broader collaborative research exercise, and so Discovery also supports the ability to run more micro level analyses. Maybe you want to go and talk to a customer or two about a latest feature that's going to roll out next week and how you might be able to refine that feature last minute. You can create an interview from within Discovery and take advantage of all the capabilities that we're going to walk through as well. So I'm going to come over to the calendar screen here, and this is really a calendar or timeline representation of research activity that's planned or in flight for the team. And so I'm going to open a study here. I can see some meta information related to that study, start date, end date, status, and I can also do the same thing and open information related to an individual interview. Again, that's either part of a study or might not be. Going to come over to the participant screen, and this really gets to the point that Brian was mentioning. A lot of product teams don't always have a dedicated repository of contacts, individuals that may be eligible or a good fit for a research exercise, an interview. And so the participant screen within Discovery is really designed to be exactly that. And how do you build this repository out? Well, there's 3 ways today and soon to be a 4th. You can create contacts manually with a first and last name, email address, some additional information here. You can import contacts in bulk via CSV, or if you're using ideas portals with AHA and externally inviting customers or prospects to come in and give you feedback via that mechanism, for folks that have engaged with your portal, you can pull these in as contacts as well. So those are the 3 ways we support building this repository out today, and soon to come is an integration with Salesforce that will allow product teams to pull in contacts via that mechanism as well. From this interface, you can very simply add individuals to research studies that are planned by various product teams like so. Let's jump into a study together. I'm going to walk you through this GPS activity tracking study, and we're going to start by looking at the study overview screen together. So some very simple high-level information related to the study at hand, a summary that perhaps speaks to the purpose of the study, a place for the team to come in and define the research goals for this study, some assumptions that we're leading in with, as well as a pipeline of interviews that are planned as part of the study. I can see interviews down here that have either been completed or are planned. And the last thing I'll highlight here as well is I can pinpoint my partners in crime, the researchers that I'm going to collaborate with on any given study. Now, you might be wondering, how do we schedule interviews? Well, let's come over to the schedule screen and answer just that. The primary mechanism that we support scheduling of interviews is via an external URL, which is a link to scheduling time with me. So I can, from the schedule screen, select the times and dates that I am available, send this out to participants or folks that we're inviting to be part of the study. They can come in, confirm their availability, and select a time to meet with me. The external scheduling screen that you see here is fully customizable from a branding standpoint. I mentioned, adding or removing times where you might be available. And you might be wondering, well, then how do I share a meeting link once an interview's been created and scheduled? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can do that manually by dropping in a meeting link. Maybe you have a personal Zoom link that you like to use for different conversations that you can drop in here. Every interview that's scheduled or created after the fact will use that link by default. You can override it in the future, no problem. Or you can take advantage of an integration that we support out of the box. So today we support an integration with Zoom as well as Microsoft Teams. And there's really two sources of value that creates if you set up the integration. Number one is with the integration set up, every interview that's created and scheduled, Discovery will automatically generate a unique meeting link for you to use, and we will expose that meeting link in the external URL that's used to schedule the meeting initially. The other source of value is assuming that you are recording the discussion or the interview. This Discovery will automatically fetch the video recording and the transcript of the interview for deeper analysis by you and the team. And I'm going to talk about what that analysis looks like in just a moment. Going to quickly show you the participant screen. So I showed you the global repository of contacts. This is the list of contacts or participants that we feel are a good fit for the particular study at hand. I can simply click on a few participants. I can click the invite button, the call to action here, and that's going to trigger the first of our automated email macros. So all of these are editable, configurable, but if I click invite, we will send an invitation to the end user. You can see a set of dynamic variables that are part of this email template, the most important of which is the scheduling link that I previewed for you earlier. If they go through the steps to schedule time with me, we'll immediately turn around and send them a confirmation. Last thing I'm going to show you before we jump into an interview is the script screen. So for any given study, you can come in and define the list of questions that you plan to ask participants or invitees when you meet with them. This is important for a couple of reasons. The first of which, we want to be consistent in the research and the conversations we're having with customers as part of any given study. But the second of which, I'll show you in just a moment, we support the ability to map specific responses from any given conversation back to these questions to visualize later in the reports that I'll share with you. So coming down to interviews, here's the list of interviews that make up the GPS activity tracking study. I'm going to open a side drawer here. I can look at some meta information related to the interview at hand, when it occurred, what was the mode, who were the participants that joined. But the real magic happens at the analytical layer. So I'm going to come into the interview transcript. I mentioned before, if you're taking advantage of any integration into a meeting service, we will automatically pull in the interview video as well as the transcript. And there's a couple of different ways that you can run analysis on these assets. The first is really at the aggregate or macro level using our AI assistant. So if I open up this drop down here, I can choose AI, give me a summary of the interview at hand. And we've been using it AHA Discovery now for a month in advance of launch. And I can say really high quality summary responses back from AI here. I can also choose sentiment as an option. And this will generate sentiment, not just generically, how were people feeling in the discussion, but anchored to the particular topics that we discussed as part of the interview. So you can see people were happy about GPS tracking and the importance of that feature. Not so much with accuracy of devices that support the software, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really, I think, gets at the aggregate or macro level of analyses that you can run within Discovery. Now let's talk a little bit more micro level. If I come through the transcript and I'm analyzing a statement that was made, I can take an action on that statement and start to populate this highlights drawer that you can see on the right-hand side in a number of ways. I can select the text snippet and choose summarize with AI. If it's a big block of text, I just want a succinct summary, I can choose to summarize with AI. I can also tease out a learning. This will give me an opportunity to type in some text to really capture what I learned from the statement that was made from the interviewee. I can also pull out a quote from the interview, which of course will map back to whomever said the quote in the interview. And I can also map directly a question from my interview script. It's not always that you're going to get super succinct and direct feedback or responses to your questions. You might get a long and meandering response. This really allows you to come in and pinpoint exactly the essence of the answer that you were looking for and map it back to a question that you care about. I think the last and one of the most important concepts we support with AHA Discovery is the ability to link insights and direct feedback from customers with your product backlog. And so I'm going to choose to establish a record link, and there's two highlights that I'll touch on here. Imagine somebody said something in an interview that you hadn't thought of before. You can select that text, that statement, and perhaps create an idea from that point of feedback. Or you can say to yourself, that relates to something that I know is in the backlog that's either planned or in flight. Let me link that insight back to explicitly the data record that's already been created. So I'm going to choose a feature that's part of my backlog route reviews here. And I'm going to show you in just a second how you can visualize the link between insight and data record on the roadmap side. But first, let's move to some of the analytics that we make available at the study level. So we've talked about some of the analytics that you can move through at the individual interview level. What about propagating that up to the study level? We support that in a couple of ways. I'm going to come down to insights here. One of the pain points that I really was challenged with after Brian laid out the mandate to go back into the market and engage with customers was I'm having all these different customer conversations, but I'm really struggling to bubble up insights from individual interviews, view those at a macro level to make quick and efficient product decisions. This really gets at that and is one of my favorite aspects of AHA Discovery. I can bubble up learnings that were captured across multiple interviews here, roll these up into my insight report. I can also pull in quotes from multiple conversations that I might have had with various individuals and visualize that all in one place. And again, quickly drawing on the script that I talked through earlier, I can also pull up explicit and discrete answers to individual questions so that I can see how different people that I spoke to responded to each question in my interview script. We can also, I showed you how to link individual snippets from interviews back into the product backlog. You can also do that at the study insights level. So let me link this into, let's link it to the same feature, which was route reviews. And I will show you how that can be visualized in AHA roadmaps. So we've established that link here. For those existing customers, I'm not sure if you saw the new product switcher that went live about 10 days ago. As a portfolio of our products continues to grow, we felt that it was time to roll out, a neat user interface to get to the place you need to go quickly and efficiently. I'm going to come over to AHA Roadmaps. We're going to find the feature route reviews on the features board. I'm going to open that here, come over to the research tab, and you can see a new interview section here where I'm seeing the link from the study insights report at the aggregate level, as well as the individual snippets that the members of the team have pulled out from the conversations that we're having with customers. So, really strengthening the link between customer feedback, customer insights, and the product roadmap at large with AHA Discovery. And that is what I wanted to show you. And so now you can see and hopefully appreciate how Discovery leads into the roadmap and assists with the product planning process. I think we are ready to launch our third and final poll question around how your customer research is going to change. And maybe I'll hand it back to you, Brian, for closing thoughts.
Thanks a lot, James. Thanks for going through that. Appreciated it. Appreciated seeing it. I'm sure the group did as well. Bunch of questions came in. We were able to answer most of them quickly. If we didn't get to yours, we will absolutely follow up. There was one interesting question that came in as to, if I can find it here. How do you share insights? And so James talked about that at the end. So if we start in kind of reverse impact order, or we start in impact order, maybe to get that right. I think the first way is sharing directly through records, right? That closes that link. It creates that through line to help answer the question that I posed earlier, which is like, tell me again why we should build this. It's like, okay, the customer interviews suggest that this is important for these reasons. So that's one way to do it. Now, what do you do for people who are not in the software to begin with? Well, if you noticed on the Insight Report screens, there's the ability to share those as a web page. And so you can securely share those. Maybe you have people in your customer-focused organizations who are interested in what you learned during a study. Maybe they're even interested in what you learned in a conversation with one of the accounts that they're responsible for. And then the last is there's also the ability to share things out as PDFs or images. Doesn't happen as often, but it's a good way to export information as well. So that was a question, I think an important question that was asked. There's also this poll that we just asked here. So customer research challenges, how do you think customer research will change? So this is a question for the group. And so it's interesting to see that many more of you think that you'll be doing a lot more of it, which I think is absolutely true for the reasons that we mentioned earlier before, especially in difficult economic environments, critical to spend extremely well on what we build. The investments need to be smart investments. And then with the fact that AI is manufacturing software faster than any of us could ever imagined, probably even 6 months ago, getting it right based on what customers want, fundamental. With that, I think we are set. Catherine, if you want to share any final thoughts or help us wrap it up, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for attending today. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, James. That was really great.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who joined.